There's no place for the poo here, so just go home. Subcontractors are out of place here." Laughing together, the two of them made their remarks. "Indeed, our factory is a subcontractor. But being looked down upon to this extent is something I can't accept." "Understood. Of course, I'll take my leave then." As usual, I put on my business smile. I held back any signs of frustration, making sure not to let them show, and quickly left the venue. "Alex, huh?" As I was leaving, a man called out to me. He looked at me with a puzzled expression. "Why are you here? The event hasn't even started yet." Actually, I explained the whole situation to him. "I see. The fault lies entirely with them in this case. You can do as you please, Alex, now and in the future." Surprisingly, he said that, and I decided to take the opportunity to do as I pleased. And then, on the day of the business meeting, "I'm sorry, but we no longer intend to do business with you." What? I had decided to cancel a contract worth $200 million. "My name is Alex Johnson. I'm a 33-year-old factory owner, living with my beloved wife and children. The factory was originally my father-in-law's. Due to family circumstances, I had to start working right after high school, and by chance, I ended up at my father-in-law's factory. Eager to get accustomed to the work as quickly as possible, I worked very hard." "Are you the new guy everyone's talking about?" "I'm not sure what you mean by the new guy, but I am new here." "I've heard about you. It seems you've been doing quite well." There, I caught the eye of my father-in-law, who was visiting the factory. After that, he started to take me under his wing, teaching me the ropes. "Alex, you don't have a girlfriend, do you?" "No, I don't have one at the moment." "How about I introduce you to my daughter then?" And a few years later, he introduced me to Emily, who would become my wife. "Oh, you like that character too, Emily?" "Yes, I do. I never imagined you would like them too, Alex." Despite the age difference, we hit it off immediately. After about 3 years of dating, we get married. During those blissful times, my father-in-law fell. Fortunately, I was with him and was able to call an ambulance immediately, saving his life. I've had a chronic condition for a while. Well, I've seen my daughter in her wedding dress, and I've got a successor. Honestly, there's nothing left I wish for. He said that, but we couldn't accept it. We're not ready to say goodbye yet, and so, the family and the factory workers all came together to support him. As a result, my father-in-law managed to pull through and eventually got back on his feet to return to the factory. However, with the constant fear of him collapsing again, I took over and started running the factory. Having worked since graduating from high school, I had the experience, and after being favored by my father-in-law, I continued to learn by his side. But I think I had quite a hard time in the beginning. Phew, I'm exhausted. Are you okay? Are you not pushing yourself too hard? Yeah, I'm fine. It's tough, but I want to live up to your dad's expectations. Being a young manager, I was sometimes underestimated, and there were malicious clients who tried to take advantage of that. Still, with Emily's support and my father-in-law's trust, I was able to persevere. And as I continued to push through, I eventually got accustomed to the work. Alex, actually, that's when we found out Emily was pregnant. My father-in-law said, "I never thought I'd get to hold a grandchild." Watching him cry with joy, I couldn't help but smile. The birth of our precious daughter, June, gave me even more motivation to build up the factory. This also led me to find my own way of doing things, different from my father-in-law's approach. As a result of overcoming various challenges, I've managed to find happiness again. One day, I received news that the manager of a client company, our main contractor, had changed. At this time, what happened to the previous manager? I couldn't help but wonder. Ryan, the former manager, had a good relationship with our factory since he was in charge of our transactions. He was still in his 40s, and I hadn't heard of any illness, so retirement seemed unlikely. He was a very nice person, so I thought maybe he had been promoted, but it was an odd time for such a change. So, I contacted someone I knew at the client company. What? He was fired. Turns out, Ryan had been dismissed. Shaken, I asked for more details. Apparently, even they didn't know the reason. However, they were told by the new manager that it was because Ryan had caused significant losses. What's this new manager like? Shockingly, the new manager is said to be in his 20s. I wondered why someone so young was appointed, and it seems the president's daughter, Madison, is involved. Madison, the daughter of President Sullivan, is his only child. The president dotes on her, and her word is practically law. So, what do Madison have to do with the change in management? There are rumors that Madison and the new manager are dating, and she might have played a role in ousting the previous manager to secure the position for her boyfriend. There seems to be such a rumor going around. I thanked my acquaintance for the information and ended the call. Regardless of the truth, it was unsettling to hear such news. Ryan had really helped us out. To think it's come to this, I thought, as I informed the new manager that I'd be coming to greet him soon. I also decided to inform my father-in-law, just to be safe. Such a thing has happened. I'll look into it on my end. Alex, you focus on your work, he said, his expression as complex as mine. The next day, with no reply about the greeting, I went about my work as usual. Just like my father-in-law used to do, I was also making rounds inside the factory. Excuse me. Then, a man appeared. Both I and the factory employees wondered who he could be. I'm the new manager, Henry. Ah, you are. The new manager, Henry, came at me with a pompous attitude. Even as I thought to myself that this must be the rumored new manager, I greeted him properly, as any professional would. I made the effort to come here, and you can't even offer me tea. Henry, without any proper greeting, started complaining to me. I responded with a wry smile, apologizing and repeatedly, saying, I'm sorry for the oversight. From experience, with people like him, it's best to just apologize and not bruise their ego. That way, they'll be satisfied on their own, and you can get through the interaction. It seems you understand your place quite well. Indeed, he seemed satisfied and didn't say anything more. However, unlike Ryan, who would always greet us with a gentle smile and a good job, Henry crossed his arms and surveyed the factory. Watching him, I couldn't help but think that the rumors might be true. Alex, you're here, and this is a guest. Emily came with June. I remembered she said she'd stop by today. Emily, are you Henry? Then, Henry looked surprised. Emily did too, muttering in surprise before her expression turned quizzical. So, this kid is your daughter? Huh, did you marry some lowlife who works in a factory just because she's the factory owner's daughter? Is that a problem? It's none of your business, anyway. Seeing Emily holding our child, Henry started to provoke with a displeased face. She deftly avoided his taunts and stood by my side. For your information, he's my husband. She said that and handed June to me with a smile. I accepted her with a smile, and for a moment I thought I saw Henry glare sharply at us. Don't you regret marrying someone just because they are from a subcontractor's family, even if it's your own family's business? But then his expression quickly changed to one of mockery, and I wondered if I had imagined it. His condescending tone really got to me. I was irritated by the way he talked down to Emily, but I held it in, holding June. Unfortunately for you, I'm incredibly happy to be married to him. Emily said this with a beaming smile. At that, my irritation vanished, replaced by a feeling of joy. I wasted my time. Seeing our interaction, Henry clicked his tongue and left the factory. What did he even come here for? An acquaintance. Just from high school for a bit. It's not important now. Got it. Seeing Emily's face, like she didn't want to remember, I didn't ask any more. But still, such a troublesome person has become the manager. Thinking about future transactions, I couldn't help but worry. Soon after, a large project involving several companies was set to start. Our factory played a crucial role in this project. So, the whole factory was energized. Mr. Thompson, there's a call for you. It was from Madison, the president's daughter. Thank you for waiting. This is Alex. Hello, I hear you were rude to my future husband. Caught off guard by her sudden accusation, I could only respond with a confused. I was aware of the incident but hadn't initiated it. I had no idea what she was referring to, but the caller was Sullivan's only daughter, Madison, whom he dotes on. I apologize if I made you feel uncomfortable. So, I apologize just in case. Madison then unilaterally stated, he's different from subcontractors like you, and you should respect him, the future president, before hanging up the phone. Could she really have called just for that? I was taken aback. Then, I received a call from an acquaintance at a client company. What's going on? An exchange meeting. Apparently, to facilitate smooth progress on the project, an exchange meeting was being organized to foster interaction between the companies involved. Madison had insisted on being the one to contact our factory about the event, saying, I'll handle the communication with that factory. Someone was watching nearby, just to be safe, and confirmed that the call ended without mentioning the important details, only complaints being made. That's why they decided to contact me again to ensure I was properly informed. Thank you very much for letting us know. Not mentioning the main point, Madison seems to be quite troublesome. I thanked them for the call and checked our schedule. Had they been a bit later, we might have made other plans. I wonder if both of them will attend the event. I couldn't help but sigh, wishing I could avoid meeting them. On the day of the exchange meeting, I arrived at the venue a bit early. There were only a few people around, engaging in light conversation. What's a lowlife like you doing here? Henry found me and started to hassle me. Madison was by his side, looking down on me with a smirk. How dare you show your face here? The nerve of some poor people. Really, among all these prestigious companies, you're the only subcontractor. Is that so? Sorry, but I need to greet the others. I tried to dodge them, but they persisted in harassing me. Their interaction with me drew puzzled looks from others in the venue. Unwanted attention was on me, and I was wondering what to do when Henry suddenly pushed me by the shoulder. There's no place for the poo here, so just go home. Subcontractors don't belong here. They laughed together, mocking me. Indeed, our factory is a subcontractor. But being looked down upon to this extent is something I can't accept. Understood. If you get it, then the poor losers better disappear quickly. Yes, of course, I'll take my leave then. As usual, I put on my business smile. I held back any signs of frustration, making sure not to let them show, and quickly left the venue. Alex, huh? As I was leaving, a man called out to me. He looked at me with a puzzled expression. It was President Sullivan, Madison's real father, and the president of the client company. You're early, President Sullivan. I heard you'd be attending too, so I thought I'd say hello and maybe talk about him. He must be referring to my father-in-law. I've heard that my father-in-law and President Sullivan have been acquainted since the founding of their companies. Well, since I took over, there hasn't been much personal interaction with President Sullivan. Why are you here? The event hasn't even started yet. Actually, I explained the whole situation to him. Even though I thought it might be in vain, I told him everything without holding back. I just wanted to trust him, as my father-in-law had. After hearing my story, President Sullivan sighed deeply. I see. This time, the fault lies entirely with them. Alex, you can do as you please, now and in the future. Really? Does that mean? It seemed President Sullivan understood without needing further explanation. He nodded firmly and said, I'll leave it to you, and you won't be held responsible, allowing me to take the liberty to act as I saw fit. What about the exchange meeting? I need to discuss future matters, so I'll be leaving. I'm sorry for this trouble. Saying that, President Sullivan apologized. Then, he handed me a piece of paper. Take some time off. With that, he went into the venue. After seeing him off, I opened the paper he had given me. It had Ryan's name and phone number on it. Hello, it's been a while. This is Alex. I called right away, and Ryan, a bit surprised, listened to me. After discussing various matters and what to do next, I made a decision. I need to go back and report this to my father-in-law and the others. Muttering to myself, I hurried home. A little while later. You made us look like fools, Henry called me. It seems the attendees at the exchange meeting found it suspicious that I was missing. President Sullivan had asked Madison. I heard Henry sent him home. Madison couldn't answer, but the other attendees testified. Because of that, we were in a very uncomfortable position. But isn't it true that you sent me home? That's true, but Henry, surprised that I talked back for the first time, fell silent. Just a little pushback and he's speechless. It seems his mental fortitude is weaker than I thought. If that's all, I'll be taking my leave. With that, I hung up. Then, I turned back to my father-in-law. So, I've decided to withdraw from this project. I've left the factory in your hands, so do as you please. I would have lost my temper and resorted to violence by now. Alex, you are truly kind. After our discussion, I decided to cancel the contract on the day of the business meeting. And on the day of the meeting, when I arrived at the client's company, an obviously displeased Henry was waiting for me. We're busy here. Just sign this contract and get it over with. There's no need for that. We're canceling a contract. What? Henry looked bewildered at my words. But he quickly burst into derisive laughter. Try it if you think you can. If you do that, your factory will be finished. Don't worry. If anything, it will be you who ends up regretting this. I said with a smile, and Henry, true to form, kept laughing at me disdainfully. Then I decided to leave the company. Excuse me, Alex. On my way out, Madison approached me. She looked somber, a stark contrast to her demeanor at the exchange meeting. I heard about you from my father. It seemed that President Sullivan had told his daughter the truth. And perhaps after a lecture from him, she appeared quite downcast. I'm sorry for my rude behavior before, she said, deeply apologizing. I was taken aback by her apology, not expecting it, and just looked at her wide-eyed. She gave a wry smile in response. Well, I'll be going now. I could only watch as she walked away. Could it be that Madison? I had an inkling of the situation but quickly refocused, reminding myself it wasn't my place to interfere. After greeting an acquaintance, I left the company. A few hours later, I was back at the factory, working as usual, when Henry called. Long time no talk, what's up? Hey, signed the contract now. Oh, what's the rush? I asked, though I knew exactly why he was panicking. This project can go on without your factory. Indeed, this project was based on a patent I held. This patent was what set me apart from my father-in-law. After extensive research, I had developed a unique product. Securing a patent for it had significantly benefited our factory. If we don't have that, the whole project is back to square one, and if that happens, I'll be held responsible. I'm afraid it's too late for that. We've already signed a contract with someone else." At my words, he exclaimed in disbelief. "Huh?" Then, it was my turn to laugh. I had learned from Ryan about setting up a new company on the day of the event. "Actually, I'm receiving support from President Sullivan. Would you like to sign a contract with us?" Ryan had been harassed by Henry, the current manager. Even when he tried to report it, Madison would quash his complaints. So, he decided to resign before things got worse. President Sullivan then approached him, suggesting he start a company as a subsidiary. Given the current circumstances, I decided to contract with Ryan's company. What a joke! If we can't secure a contract with you, we're looking at a loss of $200 million. I'm afraid there's nothing I can do. With that, I ended the call. I thought I heard Henry scream in frustration, but I ignored it. Back to work, then. And so, I continued with my work as usual. Soon after, I look forward to working with you. Madison came to our factory. Since then, she had been disowned by President Sullivan and had resigned from the company. And so, we took her in, given she had nowhere else to go. Nice to work with you, Madison. It's nice to work with you too, Alex. Indeed, President Sullivan doted on Madison. But that didn't mean he indulged her every whim. He raised Madison with great care, resulting in her pure-hearted nature. Being too naive, she became easily influenced by those around her. And that's where Henry found his opportunity. It was my first time being in a relationship. Led by Henry, she continued to behave as he suggested, fitting the role of a president's daughter. Even though President Sullivan noticed, he was too busy with his duties and supporting individuals like Ryan to intervene. Thus, many assumed Madison was spoiled and could do as she pleased. When this issue arose, he told me to ask your father to help me out. When I approached my father, he told me to choose between resigning in his stead or letting him take responsibility and resign. Madison then consulted Henry. In response, Henry commanded her to resign for his sake and then coldly stated, "I have no further use for you." I thought I had no place left. Why did you decide to take me in? I can somewhat relate to how you feel. Really, I lost my parents in an accident as a child. Taken in by my uncle and aunt, I was always seen as a nuisance and a parasite, never feeling like I belonged. That's why I chose to work right after high school. But my father-in-law found me, gave me a place in this factory, and Emily provided the affection I never received before. I see, that's how it was. I just wanted to do for you what I was grateful for back then. If you feel like you have no place, our factory will welcome you. Work hard, and I'm sure someone will offer you the affection you deserve. Madison looked down at my words. I pretended not to notice the tears spilling from her eyes. Since then, she has been working earnestly at the factory as if she were a completely different person. Her genuine nature has made her well-liked among the employees, especially the older ladies who enthusiastically doted on her, saying, "We'll make you a nice girl. She'll be all right, I'm sure of it." That's good to hear. When I reported her progress to President Sullivan, he seemed genuinely relieved. The project eventually was taken over by the subsidiary, minimizing the losses. However, leaving Henry and Madison unpunished for their actions, which nearly led to a massive loss, was inadvisable. So, President Sullivan offered the choice partly to understand Henry's true intentions. "I'm glad I left it in your hands." He then pleaded with me, practically on his knees, to take in Madison after her dismissal. Initially, I hesitated to accept her, remembering how she had joined Henry in mocking me, but I found aspects of her situation sympathetic. That's what I decided to take her in. Please look after my daughter from now on. I'll make sure she works hard, don't worry. I nodded with a smile to President Sullivan's request. Not long after, I heard from the acquaintance that Henry had resigned. Although Madison's sacrifice spared him from dismissal, the leak of the incident subjected him to constant scrutiny within the company. Eventually, unable to bear the pressure and being sidelined, he resigned. He did have potential. Despite his character, Henry was admittedly competent. President Sullivan had genuinely considered him a candidate for the next president, hence giving him the managerial position. But his arrogance led to this debacle. Maybe it was my presence that fueled his actions further. It turns out, Emily and Henry were classmates in high school, and he had harbored feelings for her. However, trying to get Emily's attention, he belittled the factory. Angered by the insult to her father's factory, Emily told him, "Never come near me again," and cut off all ties. Later, as adults, he discovered his company was doing business with our factory. He became in charge of the factory, flaunting his position as a young manager to reconnect with Emily. But she's my wife now, and we even have a child. Driven by jealousy towards me, he just went off the rails, always been childish. Now, I can't even understand why I associated with someone like that. The reason we know all this is because Henry stormed into the factory one day. There, he ranted about his personal circumstances without anyone asking. As a result, he was chased off by our burly employees. According to President Sullivan, Henry has been sent back to his rural hometown. After he stormed in, we demanded compensation for business interference. Now, he's just paying off the debt he incurred to settle the compensation. He got what he deserved. His family back home seems to be keeping a close eye on him. This ensures Madison and I can focus on our work, and Emily can devote herself to parenting. Hey, Emily, can I feed June? Sure, go ahead. Yes. Madison has grown quite fond of Emily and actively takes care of June. Apparently, she always longed for a sibling, being an only child. Seeing her now, radiant with joy, I'm reassured that my decision to take her in was right. Overcoming this hurdle, I continue to work hard as usual. Madison, you've really gotten the hang of things lately. All thanks to everyone here, Madison has adapted well to the job, becoming an invaluable part of our team. Someone was quietly observing her efforts. In his eyes, there was a depth of affection Henry never had, suggesting that happier days for her were not far off. Time for me to step up my game, too. I have a precious family to protect. For their sake, and for our cherished factory, I'll keep pushing forward, believing that, together, we can overcome any challenge that may arise.